The Carpathian Mountains were huge and scary. They loomed over the land like ancient guardians, their peaks shrouded in mystery and legend. For centuries, these mountains have been the subject of countless tales, each more terrifying than the last. The locals spoke of creatures that roamed the forests, unseen but always felt, and of spirits that haunted the valleys, their whispers carried by the wind. The Carpathians were not just a physical barrier, they were a boundary between the known and the unknown, the safe and the perilous. Angry clouds swirled above them, as if the sky itself was warning of the dangers below. The storms that brewed over the Carpathians were unlike any other, fierce and unpredictable, mirroring the wild nature of the land. Lightning would crackle through the sky, illuminating the jagged peaks for a brief moment before plunging them back into darkness. Thunder would roll through the valleys, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to shake the very earth. Sharp mountain peaks poked the sky like the teeth of a giant monster. These peaks, carved by time and the elements, stood as silent sentinels, watching over the land. They were both beautiful and terrifying, a testament to the raw power of nature. The higher you climbed, the more treacherous the terrain became, with narrow paths that seemed to disappear into the clouds. It was a place where only the brave or the foolish dared to venture. Below, covered in a strange mist, was Transylvania. This land, steeped in history and legend, was as enigmatic as the mountains that surrounded it. The mist that clung to the valleys seemed almost alive, swirling and shifting as if hiding secrets of its own. It was a place where the past and present coexisted, where ancient ruins stood alongside modern villages, and where every shadow seemed to hold a story. The air felt heavy with scary stories and old fears. Every rustle in the forest, every creak of a tree branch seemed to echo with the voices of those long gone. The forests of Transylvania were dense and dark, a labyrinth of trees that seemed to go on forever. It was easy to get lost in these woods, both physically and mentally, as the mind played tricks and the imagination ran wild. Deep inside this spooky land stood Castle Dracula. This ancient fortress, perched on a rocky outcrop, was a symbol of the region's dark history. Its towers and battlements seemed to reach for the sky, as if trying to escape the shadows that clung to its walls. The castle had stood for centuries, witnessing countless events and harboring many secrets. Its old stone walls seemed to soak up the darkness. The very stones seemed to whisper of the past, of the lives that had been lived and lost within its confines. The castle was a place of mystery, where every room, every corridor held a story waiting to be told. It was a place where the line between reality and legend blurred, where the past seemed to come alive. The castle was full of secrets that were better left alone, a fortress of shadows in a land where nightmares came to life. It was said that the very air inside the castle was different, heavier, as if weighed down by the memories of the past. Those who entered often spoke of a feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following their every move. Almost no one dared to go near it. The locals avoided the castle, speaking of it in hushed tones and with fearful glances. It was a place that seemed to repel visitors, as if the very land around it was warning them to stay away. Those who did venture close often returned with tales of strange occurrences, of lights that flickered in the windows and sounds that echoed through the halls. The few who did talked about strange lights and creepy sounds. They spoke of ghostly figures that roamed the halls, of whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. The castle was a place where the supernatural seemed to be a part of everyday life, where the line between the living and the dead was blurred. They whispered about the ancient evil inside. This was not just a place of ghosts and spirits, but of something far darker. The castle was said to be home to an ancient evil, a presence that had been there for centuries, feeding off the fear and despair of those who entered. It was a place where nightmares came to life, where the very walls seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. The castle wasn't just a building, it felt alive, sending out a scary feeling that made you shiver. It was as if the castle itself was a living entity, aware of those who entered and intent on keeping its secrets hidden. The atmosphere inside was thick with tension, every creak and groan of the old structure adding to the sense of unease. The castle kept its secrets hidden, a silent protector of the darkness inside. It stood as a monument to the past, a reminder of the region's dark history and the stories that had been passed down through generations. The castle was a place of mystery and fear, a place where the shadows seemed to have a life of their own. Jonathan Harker, a young lawyer from England, was told to go to Castle Dracula. He was excited about the opportunity, thinking it would be a simple business trip. Little did he know, this journey would change his life forever. He didn't know the horrible things waiting for him. The castle loomed in the distance, a dark silhouette against the sky, filled with secrets and dangers he couldn't even imagine. He traveled there, feeling more and more uneasy. Each mile brought a new sense of dread, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. Scary things happened on his journey. The roads were dark and misty, the trees seemed to whisper warnings, and shadows danced in the corners of his vision. Local villagers were afraid when he said where he was going. Their faces turned pale, and they crossed themselves, muttering prayers under their breath. They warned him quietly about the evil hiding in the castle. Their voices were filled with fear, and their eyes darted around as if expecting something terrible to appear. Even though they warned him, Jonathan kept going. He was determined to complete his mission, no matter the cost. He didn't know how dangerous it was. The path became more treacherous, the landscape more foreboding with each passing hour. The carriage bumped along bad roads, the wheels creaked and groaned, and the horses seemed nervous, sensing the danger ahead. The land became empty and bare. It was as if life itself had fled from the area, leaving only a desolate, haunting silence. He felt more scared with every mile. His heart pounded in his chest, and his hands trembled as he clutched the seat. The sun started to set, making long, spooky shadows. The twilight seemed to stretch endlessly, casting an eerie glow over everything. Jonathan shivered. He was entering a place ruled by darkness. The air grew colder and a sense of doom settled over him. He knew he was stepping into a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. When Jonathan arrived, Count Dracula greeted him. The Count had piercing eyes and a strange charm that was both attractive and scary. As days turned into weeks, Jonathan was trapped inside the cold castle. Little by little, he discovered the awful truth about his host. The Count was a creature of the night, a vampire who drank human blood. Jonathan felt terrified. He was trapped with a monster. He saw the Count's strange powers, how he moved super fast and was stronger than any human. Jonathan knew he was in serious danger. He had to escape before he became another victim, Gap 2S. Dracula was hungry for blood, so he sailed to England. When he arrived, he brought terror with him. His victims, with their blood drained, became like empty shells. Their blank eyes and pale skin showed everyone the monster among them. News of Dracula spread fast, causing panic everywhere. Stories of the undead creature went through the city. Each whisper made people more afraid. Dracula's darkness filled every part of London. The city, once bright and modern, was now gripped by an ancient evil. People were scared of the night, knowing darkness brought the threat of the unknown. Section 5, The Hunter's Instinct. Van Helsing, a famous professor and vampire hunter, arrived in London with a sense of urgency. He had spent years studying the dark arts and the ancient texts that spoke of creatures of the night. His knowledge was vast and his determination was unyielding. He knew about ancient evil and saw the signs in London. The city was shrouded in a thick fog and the streets were filled with an eerie silence. Shadows moved in the corners of his vision, and he could feel the presence of something sinister lurking in the darkness. Van Helsing was smart and brave. His intellect was matched only by his courage. He had faced many dangers in his life, but this was different. The stakes were higher, and the enemy was more formidable than any he had encountered before. He understood the danger of Dracula. This was no ordinary vampire. Dracula was a creature of immense power and cunning. Van Helsing knew that if he did not act quickly, the city would be consumed by darkness. He knew the creature had to be stopped, no matter what. Armed with his knowledge and his tools, Van Helsing prepared for the battle ahead. He knew it would not be easy, but he was ready to face whatever came his way. He gathered a small group of people he trusted, each with their own reasons to fight. They were a diverse group, each bringing their own unique skills and experiences to the table. Together, they formed a formidable team, ready to take on the darkness. They all wanted to protect innocent people. The citizens of London were living in fear, and it was up to Van Helsing and his team to bring them hope. They knew that their mission was dangerous, but they were driven by a sense of duty and a desire to protect the innocent. They were a light of hope against the growing fear. In the midst of the darkness, they were a beacon of light. Their determination and bravery inspired those around them, giving the people of London a glimmer of hope in their darkest hour. Van Helsing knew it would be dangerous, but they were determined. They moved through the city with purpose, their resolve unwavering. Each step brought them closer to their goal, and they knew that failure was not an option. They were ready to face the darkness and destroy the evil that threatened the world. The final battle was approaching, and they knew that their courage and determination would be tested. But they were ready. They would fight with everything they had, and they would not rest until the evil was vanquished. Section 6. The Hunt for Dracula. Van Helsing's group started their dangerous mission to stop Dracula. They faced a clever enemy, hard to find and very dangerous. Every step was risky, every fight a desperate battle against dark forces. They never stopped hunting. They followed Dracula's trail, figuring out the clues he left. Every victory brought new problems. Dracula was powerful, his powers almost endless. They felt discouraged sometimes, but they never gave up. They knew many lives depended on them. Time was running out. They had to stop Dracula from hurting more people. Section 7. Confrontation at Dawn. The chase ended in a final, scary fight. The group trapped Dracula as the first light of dawn broke through the darkness. The fight was intense, a desperate battle between good and evil. Sunlight, deadly to vampires, became their weapon. Dracula, weaker but still dangerous, fought like a trapped animal. He wanted to survive, to keep spreading terror. Jonathan, remembering his own terrible experience, helped a lot. He knew the Count's weaknesses. Section 8. Dust to Dust. As the sun rose higher, Dracula was finally destroyed. The monster that had scared so many was gone. Everyone felt relieved. The nightmare was over. The world slowly started to recover. Life became normal again, but people still remembered the terror. The fight had changed the group forever. Section 9. An Enduring Shadow. The story of Dracula, a tale of horror and suspense, is still told today. It reminds us about the hidden darkness in the world and the bravery it takes to fight it. Dracula's story teaches us that even in the darkest times there is still hope. People can be strong and overcome evil. The legend of Dracula reminds us that the fight between good and evil never ends.